I moved into the apartment above Mrs. Garvey's old place last October. She'd been there for decades, they told me quiet, sweet, kept to herself. The kind of tenant landlords pray for. But after her fall down the stairs, her family moved. Her to a care home, and the unit sat empty for a while. I took the place above hers because it was cheap, with a view of the alley and a decent kitchen. Nothing fancy, but enough for me. I work nights as a security guard, so I sleep most days. The building's quiet, mostly older tenants. I liked that. The weird stuff started 2 weeks after I moved in. It was small things at first, noises that didn't make sense. At night, when I got home around 4:30 a.m., I'd hear footsteps below me. Heavy ones. Too heavy for the 90-pound woman who used to live there. At first, I thought maybe they were renovating, or someone had moved in without me noticing. But I never saw anyone go in or out. I asked the landlord if someone had taken the unit below mine. Nope, he said. Still empty. Might do some painting in there next month. That's when I started paying attention. One night, I stood still at my door after work, just listening. There it was, again, footsteps pacing, and something else. A dragging sound, like furniture being pulled slowly across the floor. I crouched down and put my ear to the floor. The sound was right beneath me. I thought maybe it was pipes or the building settling, that kind of thing. But it didn't explain what I heard 2 nights later. I was getting ready for bed around 5:15 a.m., brushing my teeth in the bathroom. I heard a knock-knock on my front door, but from below. 3 sharp knocks directly under my feet. I froze. Waited, nothing. I went still for a full minute, then it came again. 3 knocks, then a long pause, and 3 more. I stood there, toothbrush in hand, foam dripping down my chin, staring at the floor like an idiot. The next morning I knocked on the landlord's office door. I told him what I heard. He gave me this weird look and said, "Are you sure you're not just hearing echoes? The walls in this place are thin. Could be coming from another unit." "I don't think so," I said. "It's always from right." "Below me?" He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't really listening. Or maybe he didn't want to deal with it. That night I stayed up, no sleep. I kept the lights off and sat in my living room staring at the floor, just listening. At 3:12 a.m., I heard the front door below mine open, a soft creak, and then heavy, deliberate footsteps across the floor. I moved to my kitchen window and leaned out, trying to see the front door to the downstairs unit. It was closed, locked, no light coming from inside. I should have gone to bed then, but instead, I got dressed and went downstairs. The door was locked, like always, no sign of life. I stood there for a full minute just listening. Silence. Then, just as I turned to go back upstairs, I heard it again right behind the door. 3 knocks. I didn't even go back to my apartment. I left the building and sat in my car until sunrise. I called the landlord again later that morning and asked if he'd let me into the unit. I made up some story about a weird smell. He hesitated but agreed to meet me later that afternoon. We walked in together. Everything was still, clean, a little dusty, sure, but no signs of anyone being there. No furniture, no footprints. The only thing that felt wrong was the cold. It was noticeably colder inside than in the hallway. I could see my breath. The landlord noticed it too and said, "Must be the vents busted." He left after 5 minutes. I stayed. I walked to the exact spot under my bathroom, the corner near the old radiator. The floorboards creaked beneath my feet. I crouched down and pressed my palm to the wood. It was warmer there. Not just warm, hot, like someone had left a heater under the floor. But there were no heaters. Just empty space between the floors. I heard it again, faint and low. Breathing. Not mine. Slow. Tapered. Breaths coming from beneath the boards. I stood up and left. I didn't even lock the door. That was 5 nights ago. Since then, every time I try to sleep, I hear it beneath me. The footsteps, the dragging, the knocks, and now something new. At exactly 3:12 a.m. each night, my front door unlocks itself. I hear the soft click from my bed. I check. It's always unlocked. I don't know how. Last night, I wedged a chair under the handle and slept on the couch with a kitchen knife. This morning, the chair was moved. Not knocked over, moved back. Against the wall neatly. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I haven't told anyone. I don't want to sound crazy, but tonight I heard something new. A voice, it whispered my name from the floor, and I swear to God, it was my own voice. I don't know what's happening down there, but something, or someone, is learning. I stayed at a roadside motel last winter after my car broke down on a long stretch of highway in northern Utah. Snow had started falling, thick and fast, and there wasn't another town for 50 miles. The guy from the gas station pointed me toward this beat-up place with a neon sign that flickered more than it glowed. Desert Vista Lodge, it said, though you couldn't see any vista, just snow and silence. I checked in around 6:30 p.m. The lobby smelled like old smoke and wet carpet. The clerk didn't say much, handed me a key with a giant blue tag labeled Room 6, then went back to whatever he was doing behind the plastic divider. Room 6 was on the far end, next to a soda machine that groaned every 5 minutes. The room itself looked exactly how you'd expect. Ugly floral curtains, a faded brown comforter, one dim lamp, and a buzzing TV that only got 2 channels, one religious, one static. I wasn't planning on staying long, just needed warmth, a hot shower, and somewhere to sleep until the tow truck came in the morning. The weird thing started. After I got out of the shower, my phone had full bars when I checked in, but now nothing. No signal, not even Wi-Fi. Just no service in big letters across the screen. I tried walking outside. Still nothing, even at the front office. The motel's landline was disconnected too. I asked the clerk about it, and he just shrugged like he didn't care or didn't know. Back in my room, I tried to calm myself down. Bad signal happens, especially in weather like that. No big deal. But around 11:15 p.m., I heard a knock. Not a normal knock, though. It was fast 3 quick raps. Someone was testing the door with their knuckles. I opened it right away. No one was there. Snow was falling heavier now. But there were no footprints on the concrete walkway outside. None, not even mine. Just fresh, smooth snow. Dead silence. I shut the door and locked it. Out. Chain 2. Then came another knock, this time from the back wall. The one with no door, no window. Just the headboard of the bed and a framed picture of a horse standing in a field. I stood frozen for maybe 10 seconds. Heart racing, then it came again. Knock, dash, knock, dash, knock. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing. I knocked back, just once. Instantly, 3 knocks in reply. I jumped back. It was like whoever or whatever was behind the wall had been waiting. That's when I realized something. The layout of the motel. Our room 6 was the last one on the end. That wall wasn't shared with another room. On the other side should have been open or maybe the storage closet next to the soda machine. I grabbed my coat and stepped out. Snow is past my ankles now. I walked around the side of the building. Behind the wall, just a blank exterior. No doors, no windows, no attached structure. Just a narrow strip of snow-covered ground and a concrete wall. I stood there, shivering until my shoes were soaked. Then I heard it again, knock, dash, knock, dash, knock. From inside the room, I ran back around and flung open the door empty. But something had changed. The horse picture it had fallen off the wall, face down on the floor. I picked it up and noticed a crack behind the frame, the drywall. I set the picture aside and pressed my fingers to the crack. Cold air and something else soft and rhythmic. Breathing. I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner chair facing the wall, lights on. Knife from my glove box in my lap. Every few minutes. 3 knocks. Always in the same rhythm. Always from the same spot. Around 3 a.m., the knock stopped. Not faded, just stopped. Like a switch had flipped. Relief washed over me till I heard the voice. A man's voice, low and close. No, not muffled like it should have been if it was coming from behind a wall. It said, "You should answer when I knock." I swear to God I couldn't move. The voice came again, closer now. It's rude not to answer, then silence. No more knocks. No more breathing. No voice. Just me, shaking in a motel chair with the worst feeling in my gut I've ever had in my life. I sat there until daylight, when the tow truck finally came around 9:30 a.m. I bolted out without even checking out. The clerk wasn't at the desk anyway. The tow guy asked if I'd stayed at the motel. Room 6. I said. He gave me a weird look. They still rent that one out. I asked him what he meant. He told me there'd been an incident in room 6 last year. I guessed a traveling salesman went missing. Left his stuff behind. No signs of forced entry. Only thing off was a broken part of the wall behind the bed, like someone had tried to tear it open from the inside. They never found him. I tried to report what I'd heard, what I'd experienced, but I don't think anyone believed me. Sometimes late at night I'll still get a chill out of nowhere. God. I swear I hear it again. Knock, dash, knock, dash, knock, like it followed me. Or maybe it's just waiting. My apartment isn't fancy. It's just a small one-bedroom in a quiet building outside Milwaukee. I live alone, work from home. I keep things neat, routine. That's how I like it. Order, structure. It keeps my anxiety from getting the better of me. There's a narrow hallway that connects my bedroom to the living room. On one wall of that hallway, there's a tall mirror. I didn't put it there. It came with the apartment. One of those big, cheap body mirrors glued to the drywall, slightly warped. If you look too close, at first I didn't think anything of it, but a few months ago I started noticing something. Off it started subtly, just a flicker in the corner of my eye. Like someone passing behind me when I was brushing my teeth. I'd glance at the mirror and see nothing out of place, but the feeling would stay. That crawling, stomach-tightening sensation that I wasn't alone, I chalked it up to stress. Too much coffee, too many late nights staring at a screen. But then, things escalated. One morning, I was walking down the hallway, heading to the kitchen. When I passed the mirror and froze, in the reflection there was a man standing at the far end of the hall. I whipped around, nothing. Just empty space. I looked back at the mirror. The man was gone. I tried to laugh it off, but I couldn't shake the image. He was tall, maybe 6'4", skinny, pale, wearing something dark like an old wool coat. His head had been slightly tilted, like he was watching me walk by. I didn't sleep that night. The next few days, I avoided the hallway mirror completely. I moved around it like it was a minefield. That just made it worse. Because every so often, I'd catch a glimpse, just a glimpse of that man again. In the reflection, never directly behind me, but always nearby. Sometimes at the end of the hallway, sometimes just stepping around the corner, disappearing as soon as I turned my head. I told myself it was a trick of the light. I even took a photo of the hallway. Nothing strange in the picture. But the feeling remained. Then one night, I tried something I now regret. I stood in front of the mirror. Lights off. Hallway dim. I wanted to face it. See if I could recreate the image. Prove to myself it was all in my head. I stared at the mirror. 5 minutes. 10. Nothing. Just me. And then, behind me, in the reflection, a shadow moved. I didn't turn around. I just stared. The man was standing directly behind me, closer than ever. Face, just pale skin and sunken cheeks, like a corpse pulled from water. But I didn't feel anything. Behind me in real life, no breath, no sound. Just cold. I blinked. He was gone. I flicked the lights on and ripped the mirror off the wall. It cracked, but didn't shatter. I dragged it into the hallway closet, shoved it inside, and slammed the door. I felt stupid, but relieved. For a week nothing happened. No shadows, no movement, no fear. Then one morning, I opened the hallway closet. To get the vacuum man, found the mirror on the floor, leaning against the wall. Not where I left it. The air inside the closet was freezing. My breath fogged up. I closed the door and didn't open it again. That night, I put a towel under the closet door and slept with the bedroom light on. 2 nights later, I woke up around 2 a.m. to a sound I can still hear in my head if I sit quietly. Enough. It was the sound of breathing, not mine. Long, slow breaths. Coming from the hallway, I got up, grabbed a flashlight, and crept to the door. The closet was wide open, and the mirror was back on the wall, not hanging glued, just like before. Perfectly placed, as if it had never been moved. I swear I hadn't done it. I didn't even own glue strong enough for that. I called maintenance the next morning and asked. If someone had been in my unit, they checked. No records. No one entered. I didn't know what to do. I covered the mirror with a blanket and tried to ignore it. But every day since, I feel it there, like pressure in the air. Like I'm being watched from the inside out 2 weeks ago. I caught something new in the reflection. The man was there again, but this time he was closer right. Behind my shoulder, and he was smiling just slightly, like he'd been waiting. I've moved my computer into the kitchen. I barely go down that hallway anymore, but last night I made a mistake. I was brushing my teeth, lights dimmed, not thinking. I looked up into the bathroom mirror and there he was. Not in the bathroom, in the hallway mirror visible behind me, even from another mirror. And he was moving, step by step. Closer each time I blinked. I spun around and saw nothing. But when I turned back, the hallway mirror's blanket was gone, folded neatly at the foot of the hallway. I haven't touched it. I haven't slept. I don't know if it's in my head or if something's using that mirror to watch me or get closer. But tonight I looked into the mirror from across the apartment and saw something that made my blood freeze. My reflection was still smiling, but I wasn't.